Okay, I think we're live. Come on in, guys. Welcome to the Survivor After Show, the Scotty Survivor After Show specifically. Before we get into things, we just wanted to start by first thanking the enormous number of people who have supported this season in one way or another. I think we have so many people to thank, both from CMU, from different college Survivor communities, from people in the actual Survivor community, as you see, like our guest here today. We've got so many people who have really supported us from the inception of this project to here we are now in the process of filming season 2 and showing season 1. So it's been a long time coming, and we owe a lot of thanks to a lot of people. In addition to that, we also want to acknowledge that it was super difficult creating this during a pandemic, and the fact that we were able to do that is testament, I think, to the amazing members of our production team and the amazing members we had of our season 1 cast. Thank you all so much for putting up with our mask regulations, our different regulations on social distancing, stuff like that. And we truly owe everyone the world in that regard. So we're going to hop in first with some introductions. This is probably the first time you've seen the 4 of us, at least together. So I'll start off by introducing myself. I'll then throw it over to Shane afterwards. So my name is Govin Menon. I am one of the 2 co-hosts for Scotty Survivor, which is Survivor at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm a third-year undergraduate studying information systems with minors in both human-computer interaction and business, and I'm a huge Survivor superfan, so super excited to be bringing this to Carnegie Mellon. I'll throw it over to Shane.
Hi, my name is Shane Killen. I am a junior vocal performance major at Carnegie Mellon, and I'm the co-host of Scotty Survivor and one of the executive producers. I'm also a huge super fan, like Govin. I'm just super excited to talk about this first episode with you all. And I'll throw it over to Emma.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Corin. I'm also a third-year undergraduate at CMU. I'm studying computer science with a concentration in computer systems. And I am not affiliated with the show itself. So I'm here as like a complete outsider to give an outsider's perspective. I don't know anything about production, about what's happened in the season so far. So I will be learning about everything along with everyone who is watching. And I'll give it back to Shane to introduce our guest.
Yeah, so we have a very special guest with us tonight. A CMU alum, nonetheless, from 2015, graduating from Duke College, and a former Survivor player on Survivor David versus Goliath. We have Gabby Pascuzzi. We're so excited to have you here tonight. So I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you. Hi. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's super exciting. This was amazing. I wish they had this when I was at CMU, so it's really cool to see this like merging of my 2 worlds. I guess I don't really live in the Survivor world, but two things that I love. So thank you.
I think with that, let's hop into just general reactions about like Scotty Survivor. Emma, Gabby, this is your first time ever engaging with Scotty Survivor. What do y'all think?
I was very impressed. I was not expecting as many people to come out of the gate, like absolutely hit the ground running in the first episode. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see that. I think this season, at least to me so far, seems like it's going to be very character-based. I think there's some very interesting and funny people on the season. So I'm excited to see how they develop as like characters in the show, and also how they develop in their relationships, because I think we've already seen some like really interesting relationship dynamics going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was super impressed, first of all, with like the production quality of it all. It was really amazing, you guys, and it was really nostalgic for me to see CMU's campus. And I think even though we're in this weird time right now where we're like half virtual and half in person, it's such a cool thing that you're bringing to CMU. And there are some characters, I totally agree with you, Emma. I was laughing out loud at points, especially in the beginning. Like, everyone's first impressions of each other were hilarious to hear. And I could see it as like, it's a season of Survivor and it's unfolding and people are here to play, and it's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, I will add, I don't know if you felt the same way, but I think I don't know if it's just the editing or just how interesting the season is already becoming, but honestly, when I saw the tribal council at the end of the episode, I was like already sad. Like I was just like didn't want to see anyone go, so I already feel like emotionally invested in these players already. So I think that's going to be very interesting as the season pans out, because there's no one who I feel like I want to leave.
I can just talk a quick bit about that. Shane, what were your thoughts on like the first episode as well? I'll let you go for it first.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time in post. So I've seen the episode maybe like 50 times at this point, but it gets better each time I watch it. And it was just honestly reliving those moments was a complete blast. There's so many characters on this season, and I think it was shown right off the bat that they do not give two craps about like what each other thinks about each other. The relationships start to form immediately, as we saw day one. So these people are here to play, and I think that will be reflected throughout the entire season. Just a truly great show to edit and be involved in.
My two thoughts there. I love Gerald just as a person. So just seeing him go out so early. We did a like production draft before the season, and I had Gerald as my first pick on my tribe of like people. I thought the dude was about to like kill it. He had so much Survivor knowledge, and then he comes out of the gate with this like idea that he's going to tell everybody that he already has 5 people. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like this is about to like bite you in the butt so damn quickly. But all respect to him. He's an amazing guy, and very lucky to now have him on the season 2 production staff. So I'm glad he's still around doing stuff with Scotty Survivor. So with that, Emma, do you want to walk us through initial impressions of everybody on the cast?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll start off with the Ogun tribe. I think obviously first impressions of who the big characters on the Ogun tribe are, I think has to include Leo and Olivia. I think the two of them already have a funny dynamic together. Leo, obviously we saw very savage in his first impressions, was really roasting some people, which I personally enjoyed. And Olivia, she's hilarious. She has like very strong opinions about things, and she's clearly here to play. Like she, I think it's very clear to me from this first episode that she knows what she's doing. She has a sense of like how to position herself well in the game. So the two of them, I think, are going to be really interesting to see how their relationship develops going in as we continue in the season. Because I think the two of them both seem like they have a really good, they have their finger on the pulse of the game and on what other people are thinking. I think Audrey was a big focus point in this episode, with her receiving the clue to the idol from the Boulder tribe, and then her pulling this move that I did not expect from her, since everyone was describing her as so quiet. I thought, maybe she'd be shy in the background, try and form some alliances. And no, she comes out and she's like, I'll tell you the clue if you don't vote me out. And I thought that was really, really smart. So I think those are the 3 people who I think stuck out to me most so far, character-wise, of the Ogun tribe. But it seems like everyone's sort of starting to form relationships right off the bat, so I think no one can really be discounted yet. How do y'all feel about that? I know I just said a lot, so.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's more to come with Audrey and the idol clue. So you'll have to wait till next week to see, but she's got more tricks up her sleeve. And okay. I too was shocked when I saw that happening. I was like, huh, like what? But yeah, there's more to come on that. Definitely agree with you. I think Leo and Olivia are 2 really, really funny people. I think one thing to watch out for Olivia specifically is how her like kind of like clearly there's some sort of like initial attraction towards Leo, so how that will like play out in her strategy moving forward. I think that'll be really interesting to watch as well.
Teaser. That's such a teaser. Yeah, I really liked the same people you called out. I was laughing out loud at Leo. Like he really walks that line between like the things he was saying were genuinely really funny, but also I was like, dang, he's harsh.
Yeah.
I would not want to be on his wrong side. He has some like razor sharp reads on people, very perceptive, kind of like an asshole but on purpose. And yeah, he was possibly like my favorite / like love to hate to love. I'm very interested in seeing the rest of his story. Olivia also cracked me up. She grew on me exponentially. Like at the beginning, I was like, oh no, do not talk about how you think this guy is cute. Like, no. And then I was like, mm-mm. And then she just like grew on me exponentially because she is genuinely so funny and entertaining. And I think I underestimated like how smart she was going to be in the game. And I really like that she's going to leverage like how people like me are maybe misreading her at the beginning, like by just being loud and out there. Yeah. What is this comment?
So it seems like Leo's chill with Gabby, not gonna go after Gabby in any confessionals.
Oh, I'm the bro?
I think you're the
Thanks,
bro.
Leo.
Yeah, Leo just calls people bro.
Thank goodness I'm the bro of, okay, I'm on bro level with Leo. That's good. Leo reminds me of like, I'm going to do a Survivor reference. So if people haven't seen, but Leo reminds me of like Spencer from Cagayan, like very smart and like kind of dry, and like could do really well if he can just like rein in the asshole. But I'm still your bro, right?
I remember the first confessional we got from Leo. I like went over to my younger brother, who's also a Survivor fan, and I just showed him like him roasting people just for 20 minutes. Like we only got to like include like part of it in like the confessional, but my brother was like, "This is like, are we allowed to air this on under like the official CMU name?" Because some of it went in, but I think he's like for sure like one of the most gifted narrators I've like ever seen. Like the dude like really knows how to like explain a story. And he does it like super funny when he goes about it. So like, I'm a huge Leo fan. I think he's got a lot more to say over the course of this season. But let's dive a little bit more into, I guess, Olivia. Olivia is one of the people y'all talked about. Gabby, you said that she grew on you exponentially. What were your like first thoughts on Olivia, and how did that change over time?
Like I said, at first I think I just thought maybe she was kind of ditzy because she's talking about like thinking this guy is cute. And she's very like gregarious, which I love in a friend and in a person and in a personality, but I know in the game of Survivor can sometimes get you in trouble. So I was waiting to see whether she kind of knew like when to rein it in or when to say things. And I think she even says herself in the episode, like, oops, sometimes I tell people things without thinking. I'm like, that could really get her in trouble. But she found a freaking idol. Like she's amazing. She's so entertaining. She's definitely one of my early favorites. I can't wait to see what she does.
I just want to add, she found that idol without a clue too. Like they were all like idol hunting without a clue, and she found it. Well, she had her little moment where she like missed it, and then she went back again. But she found out without a clue like day 3 or 4.
Wow, Russell Hantz who?
That was a huge win for her, I'd say.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. When the camera was pinning originally and she was missing it and it was like pointing to the idol, I was sitting here like screaming at my laptop, like, come on, like you gotta find it. Because it would have been so sad to see her look right there and then someone else find it. So I was glad she found it. But I also thought it was really smart that she let Leo kind of look for the idol and didn't say anything. I thought that was a very smart move on her part because I think she would have been really showing all her cards between that and sort of like forming that alliance with Elle. I thought those were two really smart things to sort of like leave out because I felt like Leo felt really secure in their relationship in this episode, which I don't think he has anything to feel insecure about yet, but I feel like Olivia's got some got some tricks up her sleeve that she could pull out later if Leo starts getting crazy.
Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Olivia had only watched one season of Survivor ? Before this. Like, walk me through that.
Yeah, Olivia had watched Survivor like a little bit, like when she was like a young child with her family, but like that was like maybe like 10, 15 years ago. So it wasn't like had been retained. And then she watched like a season, if that, in preparation for the show. And definitely, I mean, like we definitely like had to explain like what certain things were, like rocks, for instance. But you know that's a constant among like most college Survivor players that have never really, like, seen the show or saw seasons that don't have rocks, which is like a really tough moment for any Survivor player, getting rocked out. But yeah, she really didn't have much Survivor knowledge at all. So I was incredibly impressed within the first 5 days how perceptive she was, and I think that as you know, she started it as an acting major at a different university and came in here. And I think that people forgot that and think that she's just this like big bubbly personality who's definitely like really loud, but she knows how to act and she knows how to like kind of get what she wants from people and make them that are smart for her. So I think that's something to keep in mind is people are not they're not picking up on her acting, which is good for her.
Let's talk through, I guess, we'll stay on the Ogun tribe for a bit longer before hopping into Eric and his million stans and the rest of the Balder tribe. That entire chat was just like Eric fanboys, and I am so here for it. But looking at the Ogun tribe, there was a lot of paranoia around this idea of like all of the first years all coming together. And when we were casting the season, we had talked with the administration about how we really wanted to like bring in a lot of first years since they didn't have the opportunity to meet people through a normal orientation process. So we cast a third of our cast being like people who had just came to CMU. And then that ended up creating a lot of paranoia because now there's so many first years in the game, right? So what was everyone's thoughts on the 3 first years on that tribe? We have Audrey, we have Hallie, and we have Gerald.
I think it's great that you cast so many first years, and I was impressed that they kind of like dove right in. It's really hard to not only be at a new school, but during a pandemic. And, you know, it sort of evens the playing field because I feel like you would have an advantage being a player who has been at CMU for several years, not only for things like challenges and potentially like knowing where spots are on campuses for scavenger hunts or for idol hunting, but also just having more of a chance to have these connections with other people on the cast, or maybe you have a mutual friend in common. And we saw that with some people were members of the same fraternity or some people were in the same major. And I just feel like the longer you've been on campus, probably the easier it's going to be to make connections. So I think it's great that you cast so many first years to kind of level that playing field because they are in a tougher spot. And some of them really impressed me, such as Eric. And, you know, I think it's really incredible that they have the opportunity to be thrust into sort of, you know, this social sphere of CMU. It's like, you know, you can join organizations or whatever as a first year, but making friends in such a unique situation, such as Survivor, is a really special experience that I hope all of them treasured, you know, no matter how they end up doing in the game. I hope they really appreciate that for what it is. But strategically, I was laughing because wasn't the one tribe like, they were so worried because there were 3 freshmen on their tribe, but I'm like, 3's a minority. Like, come on, don't be too worried about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Gerald's like 5, like the texting 5 people and telling him he's got 6 together already is, I think that was kind of what sort of did the freshmen in terms of like people thinking that they were like forming an alliance, because I think up till then it seemed to me like Hallie had sort of been talking to her, like doing challenges with a lot of different people. So I didn't feel like he was locked in with that first year group. And I think same with Audrey. It seemed like she had, like, no one was really feeling like an alliance, that they were in an alliance with Audrey prior to then. So I think Gerald sort of forming that group sort of did them in terms of people thinking that maybe something was going on there. But I do think it'll be interesting to see, like, if maybe Hallie and Audrey do something together, because I think there is some power in being first years together, because you're in the same spot of you, like Gabby just said, you don't maybe necessarily know other people or places on campus as well as everyone else does. And so if they're in the same boat, could be good to stick together. And even if they, like, I saw Hallie and Dorothy did that, did a confessional together. So if they were together and maybe brought in Dorothy, that could be really interesting, because I think she could bring that experience to an alliance if they were to form one.
Shane, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of just spoke my mind right there at the last point. I think that we see kind of the reluctance from Dorothy already about this 6-person alliance, and we'll talk more about that later, that they've made. So I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on, is this Hallie and Dorothy connection and this Hallie and Audrey connection, and will they link up together? Because there's clearly some sort of bond that we're getting pretty strongly, and so it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out, just because, like, I think Leo and Olivia definitely feel like they're in control, and they are in control, for sure. They definitely have the power in this episode, so it'll be interesting to see how that power plays out.
The Eric fanboys have arrived. I think we should give them a little bit a discussion of Eric. So as I begin flashing some of their comments on the screen, anybody got any thoughts on Eric or anybody else on the Balder tribe?
Eric was great. I think I need clarification on how Spud. Why is Spud Eric's nickname?
I don't understand this.
But I will talk about Eric. I had written down, I didn't even have the live chat open during the episode, so I didn't realize Eric was such a fan favorite, but I'm glad to know that my feelings about him were the same. I found him extremely entertaining. Like, I took many notes on him. He was really a standout to me. He really excelled at those ballsy tasks, such as asking his professor to teach. Like, my boyfriend and I were laughing out loud. It takes a lot of guts to do something like that. And I think not only is it entertaining, but I think it speaks really well for him, for his personality in the game. Like, he's willing to take risks. He's willing to put himself out there. He's not worried about looking silly. It's a great quality to have in a Survivor player, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree. I felt very similarly watching Eric. I think I'm a little nervous for Eric, because I think the fact that he is willing to take risks and is, like, really putting himself out there, I think it could put a target on his back. But I really appreciate him as a character on the show, because I think he's so fun to watch. I will say that Apple Mile alliance that we saw sort of starting to form, I think that could be really interesting, depending on if that group sticks together, because it seems like they sort of formed out of, like, happenstance, and sort of just, like, doing that challenge together. So I wasn't sure how tight of an alliance they're going to be if they end up sort of forming stronger relationships, and, like, more personal relationships with other people as the season goes on. But it seemed to me like Eric was sort of leading that. And so that makes me wonder, like, if that alliance does last, maybe Eric is in a good position. But if it doesn't, then I think Eric could be putting himself out there in a risky spot.
Yeah. First off, Eric stands, we hear you. We acknowledge we acknowledge the rise of Eric. We're going to talk about other people too, because this is a show of 18 people. However, one of the funniest moments to me by far was Eric sending that letter to his professor. Very, very ballsy. I don't know if I would do that, to be honest. Also, I don't know what that accent was. Can we just acknowledge? I don't know what it was. Don't know where it came from. A choice. But Emma, I think you said it perfectly. I think watching Apple Mile over like the next week, like we gave in the preview, like one player like trades his honor for power. Clearly that was on Eric. So watching how he plays out is going to be something to keep an eye on, because I think you're right. If he kind of keeps playing the like I am in control card, he could get himself into trouble really early on if people catch on to him. So keeping an eye on that. But clearly there's like some sort of tie there. Like you see Sarah being like, oh, May and I are super close, and then May being like, I don't know what she's talking about. Like I'm super sketched out by her. Also another thing to keep an eye on, see how that develops. So yeah, that's my initial thought on Eric.
I was shocked when Eric came in like guns blazing the first week. I remember when we were interviewing him over the summer, the dude was in a very dark basement, very timid, talking about his like soccer playing career. And we thought he was going to come in like kind of being like a very like low key, kind of like Chad like figure. And then he comes in and then he's just like a ball of energy and does a million different things. And we're like, whoa, this is totally not expected, but so much more fun than what we could have ever hoped for. So Eric for sure like dominates a lot of this first episode. And I think he also will continue to dominate the second episode as well. And we'll see beyond that possibly too. But we also see that, like I think Nathan's been saying in the chat, he has been putting himself in a position where he has a lot of power right now. He has the Apple Mile group. He also did a challenge with Michael. He was when Sarah jumped into the pool, he was there with Amara and Michael. He's making all these different connections with literally everybody on that tribe, with the exception of maybe some of the remote players. And we can hop into what everybody thinks about the twist of there's being some people who are in person, some people who are remote. But Eric's got a lot of connections right now. So how he's going to navigate that the first time that Baldur goes to tribal council is for sure something to watch. And I think we'll get more on that in the coming few weeks. So any thoughts there, Shane? Go for it.
I want to get people's opinions on the other three before we get to the remote players, specifically Zoe, Michael, and Amara, because I think they are quite fascinating too. And we saw a little bit less of Michael and Amara in this episode. We definitely saw Zoe, definitely saw some strong opinions about Zoe right off the bat. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on those three, but wanted to bring the conversation towards them.
Yeah, I would say Zoe. I was actually very surprised to see how many varied opinions there were on Zoe. Because I have like met Zoe before. We were on the same like orientation staff. So I know Zoe a little bit, and I feel like she's very like lovable. So I was very surprised to see people being like, why would you say? Which, I mean, I to each their own, but I was surprised that was the reaction. So I thought that was very interesting. And I think Zoe has a very outgoing personality. So I thought it was really, really good for her that I saw her meeting with a lot of people. I think I saw she ate lunch with, who does she eat lunch with?
I think it was the Apple Mile group.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Also with Michael and Amara, that's where Olivia saw them too, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so I think that's good for her, given that there were some like differing opinions about her off the bat. I think it like in the opposite way of it like might hurt Eric. I think for her it's going to help her to have more people sort of feeling like maybe she could be useful to them, and then she could maybe turn that into something and make moves sort of using people's trust in that way. So I think Zoe actually, despite the maybe like negative reaction of some people at first, I think she's actually not in a terrible position.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I liked Zoe. I get her. Honestly, when somebody said she was in Scotch and Soda, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It explains a lot. Like, she's an outgoing person. She's a performer. It's a vulnerable thing, first of all, to sing in your audition video. Like, props to you. And but the thing is, despite that, I think she's very self-aware. She's not like, you know, she picked up, I think, in one of her confessionals on how she was being read, where she was like, oh, maybe, oh no, what was her name? And oh no, the girl that said choices.
Oh, Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Zoe picked up that Sarah maybe wasn't liking her so much in the Zoom calls or something like that. So that's very self-aware. And you know what? Different personalities are going to clash. There's a lot of different types of people at CMU, and that's what makes it great. So you just got to like find your people, and it's not going to be your people with everybody on your tribe. But I like Zoe. I think she has a good read on others and herself, and if she can like keep that read up, she'll be good. If she you know, I don't think she's like an attention seeking person, but if others perceive her in that way, then that could get her in trouble, because people do Survivor for all kinds of reasons. Some people like doing it for the game. Some people like doing it for screen time. And weirdly, some people get threatened by others who are very charismatic and outgoing and gregarious. And sometimes, like, it's a bad thing to be so likable or lovable or outgoing or a performer, because, you know, it makes you noticeable, which can be either a really good thing, because in the end, it's like people remember you and you can say, I did all these things and I got to the end and I was very purposeful with what I did. Or it can be a bad thing, because if you're noticeable, then people can put a target on you. So I think she's a really interesting one to watch.
Speaking of people that people had like a very strong, like good impression of, Corey, another one to kind of talk about. I thought it was just one of the funniest moments from the episode was everybody reacting like negatively to not to Zoe's like singing intro. I love Zoe too, so like I was like, what? But and then Corey's like, dang, I should have sang in the video.
That's funny.
I think that shows like what Gabby was saying, like she will find her people, and clearly like Corey is that person for her in this game off the bat. So curious to hear what you guys think about Corey, if you made any initial impressions.
So Corey's a master's student, right? Did he also do his undergrad at CMU? Okay, I was going to say, because so he is in the same fraternity as Leo.
Mm-hmm. And me. He's adult, so.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if I could ask what people were in, but then I was like, I don't know if people are saying.
No, we're all.
My boyfriend was adult, so it's like it's all weirdly connected.
Crazy.
I mean, it's not that weird. Like, I went to CMU and there's only so many organizations there, but so anyway, yeah, honestly, Corey also seemed self-aware. He was like kind of making a joke about like, I'm drinking this unspecified alcoholic beverage, which I thought was funny. Yeah, I think he was funny.
Yeah, I also really liked Corey. I think I don't know if I've seen enough of his like gameplay or observations of the game yet to say like how I would expect him to do or like interact with the rest of the tribe. But just from knowing Corey and like seeing a little bit of Corey is in the Apple Mile Alliance, right? Am I right? Okay. Yep. So I think seeing a little of that, I think Corey hasn't put himself out there enough to put a target on his back, and he does have the convenience of this alliance if they do end up like voting together and actually working together. So yeah, and I think him and Zoe would make a good pair since it seems like they're sort of like-minded, and I think they could work together well.
I want to hop in with some like stuff that wasn't shown on the episode about Corey, which I think paints a little bit more better of a picture about like who he is as a person. So we hit our idols for season 1 about a day and a half before the launch of season 1, and then we ended up finding out. We were checking like the day of the launch, and turns out that like one of them were stolen, and we were like, oh shoot, like janitorial staff or somebody probably took it. Turns out Corey had it, and he was holding onto the idol before the launch because he thought he could begin using it like as soon as the game started, which is crazy. Like the fact that he was idol hunting before the game started, absurd. But like goes to show like how much he actually is a competitor in this whole scheme. He also has played online Survivor games with Shane and I in the past before, so he for sure has that Survivor acumen, but doesn't come off super either domineering like Leo May or Michael or anybody else who comes off kind of a little bit more like a super fan. So I think that's something for sure to watch as he's able to like navigate those social relationships while still being a little bit more conniving than the average player.
God, that was a horrible moment. Just me realizing that the idol was gone. Like an hour before the premiere, like I was like, no, where did it go? And my first thought was, Corey has it. My gut was like, he has it. I just know he has it. I called him immediately. He was like, yeah, I have the idol. I was like, I'm gonna need that back.
Wait, why did you think he had it? Him specifically?
It was just my gut feeling. Like he's definitely the type of person that would like poke around. Like, my gut was telling me it was him, and I knew he was on campus. Kind of like, I don't know. I feel like he was like scouting out things. So I was like, it's got to be him, and my gut was right. So.
Oh my gosh.
What a guy.
That's
prepared.
Interesting.
Good.
Yeah, that's interesting because I gotta say from the first episode I did not get that sense that Corey was like a real like a more intense competitor. So I think that's great for him that seems like he's really flying under the radar, but has this like knowledge and drive for the competition. So that's promising.
Let's swap over to the other side of the Balder group. So you see Mikey Els is a pretty semi-large person in at least the first episode here. He's creating Daddy Thick with Amara. He's doing a fake pitch to the Schwartz Center staff with Eric. What are people's thoughts on our TikTok star, Mikey Els?
TikTok star?
Oh
yeah, he's got like 16K on TikTok or something and still growing. So yeah, quite the celebrity.
Oh my gosh, wow. First of all, I'm obsessed with the Alliance name Daddy Thick. Like, we have no choice but to stand just for the Alliance name alone. So I actually thought he was quite unassuming. So maybe I'm not reading him right. Because I would not have guessed that he was a viral TikTok star, or that even that he would come up with the name Daddy Thick. I don't know if it was him or his alliance partner that came up with it, but like, I like people with layers, so that is very cool. And also I'm noting that here that he is a music composition major, which is very cool. There's not that many of those at CMU, so I feel like he's an interesting one. That's very cool.
Yeah, that was Amara who came up with that alliance name.
Was it Amara? Yeah. Oh, and I like her a lot too. I always like love the acting majors at CMU. I felt like, I forget who said it at the beginning, where it was like, I know who they are, but they don't know, you know. And I always felt that way about the drama majors. I would be like, oh my god, they're so cool. I love them. And then after I graduated, I'd be like, that person's on TV. So yeah, they're cool alliance. It seemed kind of random, but I kind of like when there's like random duos. Like, hopefully the alliance name is enough to stick them together.
Absolutely. I think we'll definitely like keep an eye on them as well. It starts with 2 C's. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the 2 C's is not where it ends. So.
Oh. Oh,
That took me a good 5 seconds to understand what you were talking about, Shane, but I'm there for it.
They started with, it was Danny with 2 C's, and it could potentially grow.
interesting.
It could get thicker.
Oh man, I have to agree. I think that Michael and Amada are an interesting pair, like not a pair I would have expected, because they just came off with very different personalities in the original Zoom meetings and then in their original sort of introductions. So I was surprised to see those two form an alliance, but I think that could really help them, especially if I'm not 100% sure, but if the rest of the Boulder tribe doesn't realize that they're allied, I think the two of them could easily work their way in with some other people. So I think that would be really interesting if they sort of fly under the radar in that sense.
We'll have to wait till next week to get some more information on that for sure.
So many teasers.
I'll throw a little teaser here and a little teaser there.
Very good promotional content.
You got to keep the viewers engaged. I guess we should talk about the 2 people that were not in Pittsburgh this semester. First, thoughts on that, because as when we were doing the season, that was something we were consciously deciding whether or not how many remote players we wanted or not. But we definitely knew that we had to include some, just because we thought at first was definitely going to be a more remote semester, and it ended up being more in person towards the end. So that was kind of different for us. But yeah, what do we think of Kevin and Cushy?
I thought Cushy sort of putting herself out there and doing the prank calling dominoes challenge. I thought that was really good for her, because I think for the remote players, I think it seems to me like their biggest challenge to overcome is going to be people remembering that they exist. Because I think if you're not, I don't know, that might be a little of an exaggeration, but I think if they're not there and maybe the Boulder tribe decides to go get a tribe dinner or hang out one day and they can't be there, I think it'd be very easy to be like, well, they're not here, so they're easy to first boots the first 2 times Boulder has to go to tribal. So I think Cushy sort of putting herself out there actually works in her favor quite well, and I think I don't know. I want to see how her and Kevin progress, because it seems like they were talking a lot to each other. And seems like, I know they went to high school together, but I don't know how close they were in high school. But that could be interesting if they work together and then figure a way to work themselves in with the rest of the group. But I definitely think they have a big challenge in front of them.
I'm just going to hop in really quick and just give a little bit more of a picture about Kevin and Cushy before we go on and pass it to you, Gabby. So when we cast Kevin and Cushy, we actually had no idea that they knew each other, which was bad scouting on our part. But we were very surprised when they submitted where they were from. We were like, oh, we're from the same town. And then we found out that they were from the same high school. And they definitely were not friends either. So I think that it'll be fun to see how the relationship plays out, to see if they kind of start talking because of the game and meet up because of that. But I just gotta say, I think Cushy is making a strong impression right off the bat on her tribe. The dominoes call, the first time I saw that, I could not control myself laughing for a really long time. Yeah.
I loved her. I thought she was super sweet. The Domino's call was a perfect example of that, because I feel like the easiest way to get the Domino's guy to hang up on you would be to be a jerk, but she was so nice that she couldn't even do that. She's like, could you please deliver it to me? And what if I got the ingredients? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it's definitely her personality, which really will, be to her benefit. I agree. The remote players are going to be at a huge disadvantage. There's so much of Survivor that is just social hierarchy and social inclusiveness and being a part of a group, and so much of that happens just by proximity, where just being closer to people, passing people on campus, being only a door knock away on their dorm makes a huge difference. And I would be very, very scared of being left out of conversations, bonding activities, maybe even being like on a different time zone. Is she in California or are they? Yeah, so it's like there's so many factors at play there. And I again think it's fantastic from the point of view of like being a freshman and maybe feeling a little disconnected from campus. This is such an amazing way, like Game of Survivor separate, strategy separate. This is just an amazing opportunity to get to know other people and feel more involved on campus. And I think that it's a really special opportunity that you've given these remote players. And I think it's very, it really encapsulates this unique time that we're in.
So wholesome, my lord. But yeah, the least one thing we wanted to make sure was that we at least had 2 people cast who were virtual. We wanted to make sure they were also on the same tribe because we didn't want just like one easy boot on both tribes. So I think the first time Baldur goes to tribal council, the first thing to watch is like how does Eric handle his like godfather role of being friends with everybody, and the second thing is figuring out like where do these 2 people fall in the dynamic. Especially when other people are meeting up in person and things like that. Is there anyone else who we have not discussed yet who either of you feel very strongly about based off the first episode?
I liked Elle. She was someone I wrote down. I just thought she was cute and fun and seemed social and yes. I liked all of them, but I just, I made little notes, so I was like, oh, this person seemed interesting, but yeah, you have a really great cast.
I love Elle. That was great. And like, I just thought that her comments were just like spot on. Like when she was talking about Gerald with the Flappy Bird, like that killed me. And then like later when she was like, keep my name out of your mouth, sir. Like, just like these like very like humorous lines that she knows. She knows she's funny. And I think she's very likable too. So that plays well to her strengths.
Yeah.
So, or go for it, Emma.
Oh no, I was gonna say I completely agree. I thought Elle was, I thought she was funny. She was very charismatic, but I think overall, I'm very interested to see how everyone like develops into their sort of survivor personality. Because I have a feeling some of these people are not exactly the same in real life. I don't know if Leo would roast me upon meeting. I hope not, but he might. Yeah, honestly, he really might. But yeah, so I think it would be interesting to see how they sort of like fall into a personality or like a style of gameplay. And also, I just want to shout out May, who I really want to see more of because I know May personally, and as a person, I know that she's very clever, so I think she could really do some interesting things in this game. So that is someone I'm looking forward to seeing as in the next few episodes, hopefully.
Yeah, I think 2 people to shout out there. First, May. I think she's set herself up really well within the group of the Apple Mile group, but then she also has Sarah, who's completely on her side. And then seeing that she's got like both of those is a lot of power. Of course, not Eric levels of power, but still a lot of social equity on that tribe. Second person I want to shout out is on the other tribe, Anthony. We have our first PhD student in the game, and the dude's all over the place. He got evicted from his first apartment. He brought that same energy to Scotty Survivor. So what are people's thoughts on our PhD choice?
Wait, what? Okay, besides all of that, yeah, I did mean to shout him out because that is, it's very cool that he's pursuing his PhD. It puts him in a very tricky position. Just I think he was right on the nose where he was like, I don't think it's that weird that they're 21, but they like probably think I'm an old man because I'm 25, because I have been there, and like probably to you guys I'm ancient, and I'm like, guys, I'm like 27 years old, and you're like, that is so old, like, oh my god, millennials and your side parts or whatever. Like, so I feel like he has a challenge ahead of him just because of his perception and like not being as ingrained in the CMU undergrad experience. Like, at least with Corey being a master's student, he was at CMU for his undergrad, so that's different. So Anthony, I think, is going to have a hard time, even though he seems self-aware, but he just might not be able to get out of that.
Shane, you got any thoughts on Anthony?
I love Anthony. He's just such a like very like bubbly guy. Like when we had our interview with him, I was like, oh my god, like this guy knows absolutely nothing about Survivor, but like I can just tell he's gonna be like just somebody so like entertaining to watch. And I think he definitely like showed that in like the first episode. Like you see him like so paranoid about like the group of people he's working with already, even though they've literally given him no reason to think otherwise. But he's just so paranoid. But I kind of love it. And he has like such a like strong like moral compass of like, I don't want to vote him out because he like his dad posted this like super nice video, which will be interesting to watch because typically players that have like a super strong moral compass on Survivor, sorry, don't tend to make it that far. Just like based on what I've seen of Survivor, so that's gonna be something to watch out for.
I think one thing go for it.
I forgot to say, this is a little off topic, sorry, but speaking of paranoia, like paranoia game.
Oh my gosh.
Violence. Like you guys chose violence. That was crazy. That I was like, this is an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, I cannot believe they're actually saying out loud who they would have voted for. Even though they're not going to try, but like, just don't answer. Just don't. I was like cringing so hard, and truly, like, violence was chosen that day.
My mouth dropped when they did that. I was like, they are not doing that. That is not happening. They are safe. They are safe.
Why are you doing this to yourselves?
Yeah, I could not believe. I would have got up and left. Like there was nothing in the world that would have made me stay for that game, because the question that someone's gonna ask. Like it's inevitable someone's gonna ask who you want to get rid of. So that was I cannot believe that happened.
I'm shocked that first Zoe answered that, and then second, like we get that. I just want to shout out Shravya, who was our main editor for this entire episode and for the rest of like season 1. I loved that like sequence of Kevin making the fire, and then you see the beginning of like the fire erupting between Zoe and Sarah. I thought that was like comedy gold, and just seeing like the way in which like Sarah and Zoe are now like after one another is really cool, because you'd think that like people are just gonna like go after the remote players, the people they haven't talked to as much. But like here we have two people who are pretty outgoing. They've talked to most of the people on their tribe, but they're just not getting along because Zoe was willing to just like fully speak her mind, which is for sure a choice. Right.
that was a choice.
As Zoe said, she made a choice. So I think as we wrap this up, I want to go around and first talk through 2 people who you think to watch out for this season, and then 1 person who you think is most likely to go home next on either tribe. So
you can pick a winner pick too.
Okay, winner pick 2. I was assuming that would like fall under like people to watch out for, but I guess Shane and I will be quiet during this part since we kind of know like what's up. But Emma, Gabby, feel free to answer as you wish.
Oh man, that's hard. I don't know if I would know where to start. I guess I have already plugged May, and I have to say, when I found out May was playing this season, I felt very strongly that I think she could win. So I just think she has the perfect balance of like she's not so noticeable that a target will be on her back, but she's athletic, she's clever. I think if she makes it to the merge, she could do exceptionally well. And she's very charismatic. Like, I think she could really gain a lot of trust. So May, I would say, is my tentative winner pick. People who I think might go home, that's hard. I think from the Ogun tribe, before, like, about an hour ago, I might have said Audrey because I think she's made some light enemies. But I don't know. Shane said to watch out for her, so now I'm not so sure. But yeah, I think maybe Audrey, maybe I think Dorothy's been a little quieter, so also maybe Dorothy. On the Balder tribe, I don't know. I'm a little nervous for Kevin because I don't think he's like made his mark yet, and he's remote, so I'm a little nervous for him. And I'm also a little nervous for Sarah because I think if the Apple Mile group sticks together, I think none of them, feel strongly connected to Sarah enough to keep her in. And obviously, I think Zoe, as we saw, would have Sarah go home. So I think that's what I would be nervous for on Boulder.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do a similar strategy. I'll talk about each tribe because it's too hard to pick.
Yeah.
Although, okay, so I will say when I was watching this, I was thinking the winner's coming from the Balder tribe. I just kind of got like good vibes from them, but it might have just been like they were winning this episode, so to speak. Because I really could not stop thinking about my male and female winner pick. I guess I will give to Leo and Olivia. I cannot stop thinking about them. I think they are very astute and funny and smart, and I will be rooting for both of them. Hilariously, even regardless of their relationship or potential relationship or whatever attraction lies there. Individually, I really liked them a lot. As a potential power duo, like that might be their undoing, but I'm going to go with them because I love them. And then for potential next people going home, from Ogun, I'm going to have to say Audrey, maybe just because she was already kind of seeming to be like, perceived as quieter or and then like her play was good, but now if she's going to share the idol clue, then they have no reason to keep her anymore. And then on the other side, I am also worried for Sarah because she was already said aloud to be a target in the paranoia game. And even if that was kind of random or not how others feel, if a name is said, people potentially are going to glom onto that. And we've already seen that there's been friction between her and Zoe. Could be Zoe, could be a blindside. I think between the two of them, only one can stay.
True.
I just love Shane, like, ominously, like, just nodding along with everything. It's a vibe. I think those are all very fair guesses. I think this season's wild in so many ways. Shane, apologies if I end up spoiling something that I don't mean to, but I'll just talk from what's in the trailer alone. You see, there's a scene where somebody says, F it, I have nothing to lose, let's go to effing rocks.
No!
So
if people go to rocks, I hate rocks. Like, as a viewer, it gives me anxiety I can't handle rocks. I will not be able to watch if people go to rocks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We see rocks. I'm not going to spoil too much, but there's potential for rocks 3 separate times.
Yeah.
God.
These people are insane.
I mean, even this vote was like so closer than I thought it was going to be. So.
Wait, yeah, let's quickly talk through that. What were people's thoughts on Olivia voting for Audrey after telling Audrey with Gerald that like she won't be voting for her?
I was confused. I don't think I had a full understanding of like why everyone was voting the way they did. Because I thought, it seemed to me like everyone just sort of agreed that Gerald was going to go home. So I was surprised that all the votes weren't on him. But I'm wondering if maybe behind the scenes they were nervous about him potentially having found an idol, and so maybe they wanted to put some votes on Audrey. So I wasn't sure. I was very surprised about that.
Yeah, they said in the maybe 5 minutes before Tribal, they were like on call and they were like, "Do we think that one of the people, like one of the freshmen, has the idol?" So I think that was like their from my perspective, like they were doing Gerald's plan, but the opposite, and like the guys voted for Gerald and the girls voted for Audrey.
Okay.
One big thing that also didn't make the episode was sorry, Gabby, if I just interrupted you there, but
thanks for explaining it because it makes sense.
Yeah, one additional thing there was that on Ogun, Gerald did the puzzle. There was like a puzzle that was part of the scavenger hunt, and May did it on Balder. And although it didn't make the episode, there's a lot of paranoia around the fact of like, was there like a clue hidden in the puzzle? Because we only gave access to the person who was solving the puzzle, access to the like puzzle link. So many people, when Gerald did it, was like, "Oh, Gerald's for sure got this idol. Like he has a clue that nobody else has. Like we need to make sure that we either like flush it or, and like worst case scenario, Audrey goes home via a vote split." So a lot of paranoia there. I felt very bad for Gerald. I remember that in real time, he had created this group chat of 6 people, but he hadn't told them a name until 10 minutes before Tribal, because he thought that then like people would like for sure stick to the plan if it was the last thing they heard before Tribal. But we didn't see any Keith Nail stuff there, sadly. So
that's what I thought of too. Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
No, I felt for Gerald a lot during this, and I wanted to shout him out because he's from Singapore, and I lived in Singapore for 10 years, so I like felt this connection with you, Gerald, and I was bummed to see you go. And I don't know if he was a super fan of Survivor, but he sure did list all those winners like perfectly. So always a bummer to see a big fan go home. But I think, being a fan myself and overplaying in my own season, I think that is the flaw of us fans, is we can overthink things and we can do things that we think are tricky. But if other people see through it and you kind of get caught, then you are a little bit dead in the water there. But really appreciated his gameplay and his love for the game.
Yeah, I think on day 1 when Gerald sent the free agents, like what I'm a free agent, that's when I knew that he was kind of in trouble. We were all like screaming in the prod chat, like, "No, like why would you do that?" But I mean, it also brought great entertainment value, especially like that whole bit between him and Leo being like, "Homie, what?" Yeah, R.I.P. Gerald. He was great to watch. Definitely, it was sad to see a super fan go first. But Gabby's right. Super fans tend to overplay. So it'll be interesting to see if the other super fans on the cast, Leo and Michael, you have that same sort of overplaying that we saw from Gerald.
Okay. Looks like we've gone over the hour-long mark. If anybody has like final thoughts, I think we can go around the horn. Shane and I can also talk a little bit about what to expect this season. So we can start it off with Emma, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've probably said this about 1,000,000 times already, but I'm just very excited to see how this season pans out. I was very pleasantly surprised to see how much action was in the first episode, and how many relationships are already being formed. And how sneaky some people are already being. So I'm very, very excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, totally agree. This was fantastic. I'm so glad that College Survivor has finally come to Carnegie Mellon, and I feel like there's no better recipe for an entertaining season than this cast of very smart, very passionate, very diverse people that are part of CMU's student body. And I will be tuning in for the rest of the episode. So, I mean, the season. So you've got me hooked. And I was texting with friends of mine who are Survivor players and CMU, Survivor fans and CMU alum, and they were watching too. So you've got people watching, and people are excited about this. And I'm really excited to see what else the rest of the season brings.
Shane, you want to go first, or should I?
Go for it.
Okay. So I think that this season delivers on so many counts. I think we had a pretty strong first episode, and I think it only, as we get into swaps, as we get into merges, everybody learns the game really fast. Like, this is a cast where we had 3 people who really knew the game: Gerald, Michael, and Leo. And then Corey also had played these games on the side. He was a super fan to the same extent as them, but also relatively knew the game. But then you see all of these people who are really cast because they're dynamic personalities pick up the game so easily and just like make these genuine connections, and then are also ready to like flip on one another so quickly, which is so weird to me, but like really interesting to watch. I think also people gain confidence really, really well across the season. And what I mean by that is, like, you start off by seeing some people pretty quiet. Like, you see a lot of Leo in the first episode, but you barely see things from like May, Dorothy, Audrey, all these quieter people at the beginning. And then over the course of the next few episodes, some might go early, some might make it far. But those that do make it far, like, for sure come into their own. And I think seeing that like character growth is something that you would expect out of like CBS Survivor, but not out of our like college, the 6 of us just filming people for random shits and giggles here and there. So like, it was really sweet to see that. And I am so thankful for just everybody in CMU admin, from like Gina, Farnham, and like the other people who supported us. They gave us like so much in like chasing this like silly pipe dream that Shane and I had. And the fact that they're still willing to support us for like season 2, which is now filming and crazy as hell, is like, season 2 is out of this world, but season 1 is still really fun to watch. That's about it for me. I'm just super happy with how this season came out. Shane, all you.
Yeah, just echoing on what Govan said. First, like, thank you to everybody at CMU, especially Andrew Greenwald at Slice. We could not have done this without him and the support of him, and Xfinity as well, which is awesome. This cast does not disappoint. There were so many moments. Like, this was just the first episode, and there were already like moments where I was like, wow, I cannot believe that happened. Like we said in the trailer, like, we see teasers of rocks, we see like tie votes, we see so much like random drama that like you just don't see coming. Like, my job was on the floor every single tribal council, especially like later in the game. I was like, this is not the plan that they just came up with. How did this come into their brains? Like, I just want to know what they're thinking. And we're still getting a lot of the episodes in the later half out. But like, it's so fascinating to watch and post, just like how the entire season played out. Because I think even as we were watching stuff, there was so much that we even missed. Like, there's only so much footage you can watch while it's happening. So just seeing it all now is just a great treat. And thank you again to Gabby and Emma for joining us. And Gabby, I know you have a super like busy schedule, and you were on Survivor, which is super awesome. So we're just really happy to have had you here to talk to us about the episode.
Oh, thanks for having me. No, it's super fun. Like I said, combining 2 things that I love, so it was a no-brainer to come out and talk with you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
One in the vein of final shout outs, for the 10 people, which is really surprising, who've made it to the hour and 8-minute mark. First, thank you so much. Second, if you want to engage with Scotty Survivor, there are many ways to do so. The first way is to look us up on Instagram, Scotty_Survivor. The second way is look up the Live Reality Games Viewer Lounge on Facebook, where we have our own Scotty Survivor Viewer Lounge. We also have our own Viewer Lounge on Discord within the Reddit Survivor Discord group. So feel free to join Scotty Survivor there. And for any Carnegie Mellon students, alumni, anybody else who is looking to get involved with Scotty Survivor, season 3 will be casting for fall next season. We welcome anybody to join, and there are currently members of CMU alums CMU alumni who are part of our production team. So even if you aren't a current student and you want to be involved in Scotty Survivor, hit us up. We're more than happy to welcome you. I think we've got a great community growing here, even beyond like the Survivor stuff that we're playing on our free time. So always happy to include anybody who's interested. Okay, I think that's about it. Anything else from anyone, or are we ready to wrap it up? Okay, sounds good. Thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you next week for another crazy episode of Scotty Survivor. Take care. Bye.